Let me just begin. We have 5 speakers. After each one, there'll be time for conversation, questions, interaction, and of course, when we're all done, if there's one speaker you want to specially connect with, please come up to the front and meet that person and talk and make that connection. So let me start with Rob Bloomfield, who's a senior professor of accounting in the Johnson School. He has an inactive CPA, that is a certified public accountant, but he has a bachelor's degree and his PhD is from the University of Michigan. He was the founding director and for years was the director of the Consumer Behavior Lab here at the Johnson School. He's now the faculty director of e-learning, distance learning at Cornell, and has himself a very popular e-learning accounting course. Rob, the floor is yours. Welcome. Thank you.
So I'm always delighted to have an opportunity to talk about my passion, and my current passion is applying the science of reporting, right, what accountants study, to the reporting of science. And so what I'm going to do is talk about let's see, is this going to work? Maybe this one will work. I'm going to talk about what I think of as 2 uncontrolled field experiments where I'm acting as editor and we're tweaking the editorial process. And so I'll just walk through these 2 in the brief time I have. And I'm going to use it to convey 4 lessons from the science of reporting, all of which fall under the common theme that no system is perfect. When you change things, you're really just trading off one set of imperfections for another. So like a map maker, you want one map if you're going to be traveling across the continental US and another if you're sailing the Pacific. Because think about it, whether it's maps or financial reports or research reports, we're taking some high-dimensional, complex reality and trying to distill it into a manageable report. You're going to lose something and have some problems. Okay, so the first experiment so I've been editing a special conference issue of Journal of Accounting Research on registered reports. We got 72 submissions, proposals where authors are saying, here are our hypotheses, here is how we are going to gather data and analyze it. And they went through a couple rounds of review. The accepted proposals were given what's called in principle acceptance. All they have to do is live up to their commitments and we'll publish it, whether or not they end up making an interesting contribution. We've gotten results on 7 of those, which were presented at a conference. 2 field studies are taking a bit longer. All 7 have a common outcome, which is weak support for their specified hypotheses and interesting stuff in their supplementary unplanned analyses. So, what do we learn from this? Basically, I should mention, this is in contrast to articles that show strong support for their hypotheses, which happens in the Journal of Accounting Research approximately every single time when they publish, right? That's what most journals look like. So what accounts for the difference? It's basically we've limited discretion. And if you are on the better email list, you saw a survey where we identified 6 types of discretion authors normally have in the process, right? Editors don't see the paper until authors have made a lot of choices. They can change their hypotheses, they can change the theory they use to justify them, they can change the measures that they use, how they analyze the data, how they deal with unusual observations, what subsamples they report and don't report, and they can also go out and use their discretion to get more data after they see their results. If you read the literature complaining about the state of social science these days, these are all terrible things, and we should eliminate all discretion. Well, lesson one from accounting is discretion can be a good thing because you're giving power to the people with the information about what really is informative and how to convey that information in a focused way. So there are a lot of questions on how to apply this lesson to the research environment. We're going to be doing a survey of basically every published author in a top accounting journal, and we're just pilot testing this now. I'd really appreciate it if you'd go back through your email, look for Lisa McLeod's email with a link to the survey, or you can email me, Christy, I don't see, and Blake is a doctoral student, and we're all working on this together. Okay, lesson two from registered reports is that registration changes incentives in ways that are not necessarily good or bad, but they sure are different. And the way accountants would think about this is you can reward inputs, outputs, or outcomes. Inputs are the pain of running the study. How much time did you spend? How much money did you spend? How frustrating was it? Right? You can reward that type of thing. We undergo that pain to provide a service, which can also be rewarded. How much data did you get? How rich is it? How careful, thoughtful, and robust are your analyses? And we can reward that. But what we really care about is the outcome from that service, which is a contribution. Now, the way editing works now is that everything is piled on the outcome. It's really the only thing that gets rewarded is, did you make a contribution? So what we do with registration is we shift incentives toward mostly not the inputs, but the outputs. Did you, right? The promise here in registered reports from the author is we're going to gather a lot of interesting data and analyze it well. But that leaves, okay, so the good thing here is that we encouraged a huge amount of investment. And if you look at these papers, experimentalists are getting outside the lab. The archivalists are hand-gathering huge data sets, big sample sizes, lots of power, all that good stuff. Less p-hacking, choosing the analysis that ends up looking good. No harking, hypothesizing after results are known, also good. But it dramatically shifts the risk to the editors who have to accept a paper before they know if they're actually going to learn something interesting. So again, no system is perfect. The second experiment is with a brand new journal that I'm one of the editors for, and it's called Journal of Financial Reporting. It's a total startup. We can't do registered reports because it's hard enough to get anyone to submit anything to us, and so we're trying to differentiate ourselves with a new model. Lesson three from reporting science is that if you reduce pressure on performance, your reports become more reliable. There's less incentive to game the system. The usual editor of a top journal is saying, we want you to do everything. We want you to test a really interesting, well-developed, well-specified theory. Oh, and teach us something new. Right? Explore new data. We want you to identify causality, nail it down rigorously. Oh, but it has to generalize everywhere. And we want deep ideas that we can immediately apply to practice. Okay, so we're saying, do a couple of those. That's enough for us. It reduces the pressure to overclaim. We think it'll result in more reliable statements. The last lesson is you can't audit everything. Okay, and so we're splitting between substance and commentary. If you think about a typical earnings announcement and press release, it'll be, our earnings are $3.22 a share because our product rocks. Okay, well, that first part is auditable and gets audited very rigorously. The second, auditors are like, hey, just be reasonable and we'll let it go. And we're basically taking that approach. So the substance of a paper is pretty much what gets registered in a registered report. How did you gather data? What did you predict? How are you analyzing it? And what are your very narrow conclusions? You know, yes, there is a reliable statistical association between this and that. Everything else is commentary. What does this mean for your theory? What does it mean for other theories and other papers? Or what should happen in practice? That's all commentary. As long as you're reasonable, we won't let disagreements be a bar to publication. Instead, we'll let a reviewer or someone else informed write a rebuttal. Okay, so, boy, not much time to talk about two pretty complicated, totally uncontrolled experiments. I think we're learning. I don't know if we're getting better. I do know it's different, and no system is perfect, so I'm okay with that for now. Thanks a lot. And I think I still went over, didn't I?
1 minute. Questions, comments? We have just a few minutes after each speaker for objections, complaints, people to whom he owes money.
Hi. So if you have a peer-registered analysis and it's going to be a high-powered study, you agree that the hypotheses are plausible, you know, what would it mean for no results and not make a contribution? Why wouldn't that be interesting?
We had a room of 150 high-powered faculty and, you know, great doctoral students, and they came up with lots of reasons why these studies weren't interesting. You know, so there's, along with harking, there's carking, criticizing after results are known, and once you see there are no results, people will debate whether you actually had the power, whether you actually had a chance of detecting it, whether you did something that accounts for null results. And I don't know, you know, I mean, it's a good point. Of course, right, what a lot of editors care about is will it get cited? And I don't know, does a null result get cited? Sometimes. Tom, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I like the idea of bringing an accounting perspective to this subject. And the subject that you focused on is one part of a broader subject, that is, people take your publication records and decide whether you get jobs, you get tenure, and so on. And I was just wondering if that accounting lens informs that part of it too. Because right now there's, you know, these sort of flaccid comments that, oh, tenure review committees should take account of the fact that it's so hard, you don't need to have as big of a vita, et cetera, et cetera. So, from an accounting perspective,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would start with, just to use some buzz speak, there's the whole, you know, research ecosystem and all of that. It all comes together. So it's not just the editors, it's the people who write letters, you know, peer review tenure letters, it's the deans and provosts. I imagine a lot of you have, you know, thoughts about this, and I guess I also wear another hat, which is I'm chairman of the College of Business Faculty Policy Committee, where we're talking about exactly these issues. The chances that, you know, one college or university is going to jump to make unilateral changes deviating from what happens everywhere, I mean, that's a pretty, again, no system is perfect. Do we want to be the ones to experiment with a different set of imperfections? Maybe. We'll see.
All right, thanks, Rob. Thanks very much.
Thank you.